Hello, Gems. Welcome to another episode of Tiaras in Tech. I'm your host, Shelley Benhoff, and today I'm talking to Daniela Militaru, Senior Sales Engineer at Sitecore. We talked about the climate crisis and what companies can do to help, the importance of having male allies, and how to spot unconscious bias. This was a really great and important conversation, and I hope that you enjoy it. Without further ado, on to the episode. Hey, Daniela, welcome to the show. I'm so happy that you're here.
Hello, I'm really happy to be here as well. Yeah, I've been following you for some months now. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And like we've chatted and stuff, but we've hardly ever actually talked, so I'm really excited
True.
about this cuz we're very like-minded.
Amazing. If I do this, it's because I'm agreeing, because this is the sign language that we use in activists, right? So it's like, yeah, agreeing. So some
Yeah.
people sometimes look at me, oh, why are you doing this? But this is agreeing.
That's agree. Yeah. Hands up for you that, are listening and not actually watching. But yeah, let's just jump right in and have you tell us your story and how you got into tech.
Oh, that's a good one. So I got into tech, I think since ever. So in high school, I really loved math. I think if I was ever good or excellent something, I think mathematics was the thing. But maybe a little bit of a background. I grew up in Romania. I was born in Romania. I'm Romanian. I grew up there. I've done all my studies there. I've only started traveling abroad past my late 20s, let's say, and mostly with work. So I've lived there the majority of my life. So in high school, I was very passionate about mathematics. So that was my thing. Um, but I was thinking like I wanted to continue with mathematics, but in Romania, because of the possibilities, I knew that I could never get in research or in statistics, something that I think I would have really loved it. Then I said, okay, I'm going to use mathematics to use in computer science. So I went to computer science university, which it was. I had to pass an exam, and I had to choose between three mathematics and computer science. It was, I think, C++ or Pascal, so it's like
Oh,
old programming languages, which we studied a lot in high school and in university for a little bit. But then I didn't choose computer science. I choose to give my exam from four types of math, and I got a really
wow.
high result. So I entered with scholarship. I think I was the first on university because it was math, basically. So I entered with scholarship, which I lost it after the first semester, which was fine because
Oh,
um, it was perfectly fine. I would have had to do a lot of work to keep that, and I also wanted to just have fun as well.
of course.
So it started quite from early days. Yeah, high school, technical high school, university, and then yeah, I got a job while I was still a student, while I was still studying for my master, and that was pretty much it. So I'm relatively young, and I have 16 or 17 years experience in IT as on several roles. So yeah, that's the story.
That's a lot of math. I always tell people that, for programming, you don't need math. I'm not great at math, but it's just a different programming language. Like it's teaching you logic, and that's where you can connect the two. I just never did.
Absolutely. I think that's what it
Yeah,
was. Yeah, just
yeah,
the logic that I developed because of math. But yeah, you're
exactly.
right.
Yeah. And it's like, especially today, where a lot of our work is like automated, and for like web stuff, we're not threading in memory or, accessing anything, hash, any of that. So,
True.
yeah, I was just never really a math person, and that's
And
okay.
and that's okay. Exactly.
Yeah.
And many people are excellent in programming without being very good at math. I think
Yeah.
I was the other way around. I was really good at math, and I think that's what yeah, that's how it all started actually. Yeah.
Yeah. It- awesome. So you are very active in the climate crisis. I don't feel like you're active as a,
As an
active.
activist.
Yeah, as an activist, but that's where that was going. Can you explain to us why is it important to reduce um, our actual uh,
Carbon
sorry, my
footprint,
yeah,
yeah, and emissions, and to be more sustainable.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, well, I think it hit me. I always knew about the climate crisis, especially since in the last 10 years.
yeah.
Um, but it was a moment when something switched in me, and it became from something that I am aware of it to like, oh my God, this is really serious. So I was already starting to change my life in terms of habits. But then when this happened, and I think it was 2018, when I read a book that a book written by a lot of scientists and sort of like a collection of stories, and that really don't know. I literally I keep on saying that I felt like someone hit me with a shovel or something. Like it was really like abrupt. And since then, I joined an environmental movement. I participated in a lot of protests, and um, the environmental movement that I'm part of, maybe not active that much anymore. It's Extinction Rebellion. It has at the core of it arrestability, which is something that I cannot afford to do. I am, in all honesty, scared that I'll be kicked out of the UK as an immigrant. I don't have a nationality yet, so I try to do stuff around it. Having said that, being already an activist, being in the streets or like campaigning, especially since I rejoined Sitecore, which happened in December, I decided that a lot of good work can be done actually in our spaces of work, you know, and especially in organizations that work in IT, because they, there are intelligent people that work in IT organization, but also they have a lot of power because there's more money in it, and yeah, I mean tech industry is really huge, isn't it, throughout the world. So it's a lot of power and money and smart people in the same time. But if that is not used in the right way, then that's useless. So being used in the right way is basically fighting against the climate crisis. We can't even say climate change. I mean, of course we can say it, but now the wording is the climate crisis, especially
Mhm.
with the latest IPCC report that keeps on coming. I think the second report came out a couple of months ago, and other two are about to come. So the situation is really bad, like extremely bad. We basically have like 3, 4 years. We have to act now, especially in richer countries like UK, US, France, so on and so forth. So why is it important? Because it's about seriously like survival. I know the answer is it could be, it's not oversimplified, and I don't want it to sound doom and gloom, but we are at that moment when we are at the point of potential extinction, really. So that is extremely important, and all of us to not only to for some of us to survive, because that's also the conversation of the classes, the elites versus the normal people. We need to make sure that we all survive and strive, not just survive and struggle. um, I hope I answered your question. So you said, why is it
Yeah,
important, right? Because
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, and part two, I always try to ask one question at a time. Whenever I'm on podcasts and they ask two-part questions, like I've forgotten the second question by the time I finish answering the first one. So follow up. What are some ways to help and like just achieve reduction in our just pollution, carbon footprint, all of that stuff?
So I'm trying to put it in two different categories. So first, I will start with the fact that individuals should not be responsible of major change. So I don't want um, to insist on the individual level, because I know the major change that can happen and the major impact needs to come from the policies, from the governmental level. But for that, we also need to put pressure as individuals, as communities. We need to put pressure for the governments to adopt like sustainable policies and green policies and transition to green energy. But there are things that the governments and policymakers can do, and there are things that individuals can do. Um, the governments are not really understanding the crisis as much as they should. And I'm not saying that Antonio Gutierrez, which is he's the General Secretary for from UN. He's actually saying that countries are really not taking this serious, and the civil society, which are the civil communities that are protesting in the streets, they're actually, we need to listen to them, because they are in the streets and they're campaigning because they understand the crisis. Um, so we need to put pressure. And I know it's still something that as individuals and as communities we need to do, for policies maker to change things. But at the individual level, I've recently discovered a project which is called just Jump, and it's getting more and more known, not only in the UK but also globally. So what they've done, it was created by climate researchers. They work with different universities. They've done studies exactly on the questions that you're asking. Exactly where is the highest impact in terms of policies, government actions, and also individual. So what they've done, they took the most six important elements. So places where we we can make the biggest impact if we organize around them. So, and they looked at the individual level here. That's their vision. That's their focus, to just look at the individual, not so much to put pressure and to put blame on people. Because we also know now that the carbon footprint, it was a terminology that was created by BP, I think. So it was a term that the big oil companies created to put the pressure and burden on individuals. So they're not trying to do that, but also they try to educate people. Okay, if we want to do something, what should we do? So they were saying something around what we consume and how much we consume. So that is consumerism, and that's connected to capitalism, right? And that is at
Hmm.
the basis of it. And then even lower the patriarchy, right? Because the system was created by men for men, and
Yep.
probably that's why we're in this situation. So in terms of what, going back to what we can do, what we consume, not buying many products or buying a new product, they were saying every 3 years, which are it's backed up by science, because I asked them. So it's quite interesting that they got to these numbers. Also, keep a product for 7 years. Fly, how we transport ourselves, fly once every 3 years. So fly as little as possible. Plant-based diet, of course. So I think I've said. And the fifth would be try not to own a car, share cars or public transport. And the sixth was just get involved at least once a year in some sort of like when I was talking about putting pressure for the government in a campaign, you know, for the policymakers. So these six things would be the things that will have the highest impact. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Um, this question isn't on the list, I'm sorry, but like I have tried to do plant-based. It's so hard for me. What about pescatarian? That is where you only eat fish, and that one interests me. I think I could get on board with that one.
Yeah.
Is it sustainable though?
So of course you need to, yeah, you need to be careful where you're sourcing your fish, but definitely it's more sustainable than if you would eat, chicken or beef, and we
Hmm.
we know the implications of that. I guess there are so many situations in the world where people just cannot eat plant-based. It's not because of their bodily needs, but also because of their geographical position, right? Some
Hmm.
areas they just can't plant vegetables. They need to eat yak meat in Mongolia somewhere, or their diet is based on everything around this animal, right? So
Yeah.
that's perfectly fine. Just being careful where you're sourcing your fish, and how often you eat it. Of course, it's not a defined recipe. It's just like what we can
Yeah.
do to be better, right? So for
Hmm.
me, living in London, I don't have any biological needs in terms of like diets. So I really don't think there's any excuse for me not to eat plant-based, especially London is so good with that, right? So
They are.
yeah.
Yes.
So again,
Yeah.
depends of the situation, but just the fact that you're thinking of that, you're already on the right track, you're already doing great. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can think about something all day. It's, taking that leap to actually do it. I love fish, so yeah, I could totally get behind that. I love steak too, but I know, I'm older now, so it's not as good for me anymore. Well, it never was, but
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, it's not even about the health because whenever I speak about diets, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical specialist, so I don't really know. I can read the science, but there's so different versions of it. Which one is better, plant-based
yeah,
or a bit of meat? But in terms of the carbon emissions and emissions in general, yeah, for sure, like as much plant-based diet as possible, really. Yeah. Um,
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, with all of that said, we can like personally take steps, but at the company level, what should companies keep in mind in terms of like how they can help as well?
that is a really good and important question. So, first of all, I believe, well, the best thing is, okay, let me start with what companies already are doing, including Sitecore, and they're on the right track, but not quite where they should be. So, first of all, looking how they run their offices, right, in terms of electricity, transitioning to you know, um, renewable energy. That's something that it should be a policy that all Sitecore offices to be. And I think they're working towards that. They're not like quite yet there, but they're working towards that. Then what they can any other companies can do, like just say that for all the companies meals they will not deliver beef, or just make sure that they choose a plant-based diet in their even conferences, even meetings is not yet happening, but that should be amazing. Imagine how many people go to like a tech conference, hundreds or
Oh god,
thousands,
totally.
right? And
Yeah.
imagine if that will be that's all we have, plant-based diet. And I'm telling you, I've been vegan for 4 years, vegetarian for 13 years, and it's delicious. You can, and especially now, you can find so many
You
good
really can.
alternatives. And you wouldn't even,
Yeah.
some people wouldn't even know that, oh, this is not meat, actually. So, yeah. So going back to that, and these are small things, I would say, like how they run their offices in terms of energy. Also, if they have a building, to isolate the building in such way so they don't lose heat. So these are small stuff. For me, would be a big one would be to reduce or eliminate flying in companies, because there's also something that organizations are doing a lot, especially now after the pandemic. We're still in the pandemic, in all honesty. We understand that we can be very productive also online. We've signed contracts, and even during the pandemic, so that we didn't have to be face to face. So reducing, if not eliminating, at least reducing unnecessary flying. But when I say necessary, some people say, but this was necessary. Well, maybe change that definition. What exactly is necessary, right? And be more honest about it. And the most important for me is integrating in your day-to-day business. Talk with your customer, make sure that even like refusing to do business with organizations that are really not taking the climate crisis serious and are based on they have as a business model, their business model is destructive to nature and to it's a against, well, it's encouraging, yeah, the climate crisis. So I think that would
Right.
be flying for me, and how we run our business and integrating that sustainability value, having that as a value, as a business. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm I'm on board with not flying, you know, especially now that you don't have to have proof of vaccine, you don't have to wear a mask, you don't have to quarantine.
I
Like
know.
I don't even know what people are doing anymore. But yeah, what was I going to say? Oh, in terms of a company cleanly having like energy and stuff like that, I would say that Sitecore, um, the office in Copenhagen. Holy crap. Like I've traveled there 2 or 3 times, I think, a long time ago. That is a city where you can take in a big, full, deep breath and the air smells good and like it just everybody's happy and nice there.
I know.
You know,
I have the same impression. Yeah.
it's amazing. Yeah, it was
Uh,
absolutely amazing. I was just like, "Ugh, I never want to leave this place.
yeah.
It's majestic." But yeah,
Yeah.
you, you can actually tell that they put energy into conserving energy and
Yeah.
coal and all of that stuff. There are like windmill or wind
Solar,
mills.
yeah,
Is
I
it?
think windmills.
I don't even.
I
Is
think
it?
that,
Yeah,
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
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 It's amazing.
I think
Like,
they are actually, if not 100%, but they're close. The whole country runs on renewable energy, as wind and solar.
yeah,
I think they are actually, right? As far as I remember reading somewhere. Yeah, I think they're quite good. Yeah.
yeah. I saw tons of like wind farms. That was the first time
Yeah.
I had ever seen a wind farm, and it was amazing
Yeah.
to think that that's how it could be. We could just use wind.
Yeah.
But guess what? We don't, because of capitalism, because these companies that profit off of using oil and coal and all of that stuff,
Yeah. Yeah,
they should
absolutely.
pivot.
Definitely they should pivot, because yeah, they have to. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, could you sell wind power? I guess you could. Yeah, like you can sell anything,
Yeah, I
right?
think it's you
People
can.
sell water.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. So, yeah, I guess it's about the infrastructure that you use to distribute that energy from
Mhm.
wind and water. I think that's, and even oil. Oil is a natural resource, right? Why
Yeah,
should we pay for that, right? But I do understand it's like to get it, the whole infrastructure
it's the
around it
process of
is the process of
extracting. Yeah.
extracting. But they just made it like too much. Now, a country that has oil is by far more, richer than other countries, right?
Oh yeah.
It's like, is that really fair? It's like, yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So next we have a segment called Precious Gems. This is where I take comments from Twitter or TikTok or Instagram, whatever, and share them. If you want to be featured as a precious gem, then you can send us your comments at Tiaras and Tech on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and use the hashtag Make Yourself Shine. So I'm going to screen share this comment that I got. It was a while ago, but it's still very poignant. Okay, this comment comes from Jason Alba. We are very, very good friends, and he's my mentor in a lot of ways. And in response to the episode with Jaina, she had a quote that really, really is helpful. Wherever you are in your career, you can always start over. If you want something different, it's totally fine to start over. Jason said, I'm watching this right now. Smart conversation. That was a really, it was always something that I had to hear. Like, I don't have to stay on a path if I don't like it. and you can always just do something else, which is what I'm doing right now. Yeah, absolutely. Great. So let me stop sharing and back to Daniela. So, let's pivot the conversation a little bit and talk about what changes need to be made to get more girls interested in tech.
Mm. Wow, that's a big question. Yeah, we've been talking about it for a long time. So for me, I think it starts from just let me close my Teams tabs because my colleagues are texting, well, sending messages because apparently they're still working. For me, I think the conversation needs to start. So we need to don't to set the context for this conversation, right? So if we just take it outside of let's say the whole lifespan or where we're at the moment, if we just start talking right now, is like probably we're not from this moment, probably we're not going to get to a clear answer. I think we can start getting more girls in tech, and it needs to start from the childhood, from their upbringing. We can still do things, let's say from now on, to attract more girls or to retain more women in tech, or to make sure that they don't to retain basically and to attract in universities. But even by the time a girl chooses to go to university, she probably faced some microaggressions from families, from the society, from friends, unconsciously, right? No one really were on purpose trying to divert her from tech, and she might choose something else, right? So yeah, we can't do anything with that, right? But if we are aware that we can raise our girls, um yeah, knowing that they can do everything, in terms of like what toys we buy, in terms of how we talk with them, how, you know,
Mhm.
yeah, everything. So what we can do right now, from this moment, let's say, because we can't re-educate girls, right? It's like that started on another path. I guess just we can look at what is the environment at work, make sure that is a clear career path for them, that is transparent, open, make sure that everyone is trained and understands the unconscious bias. We all have them, and we just need to be aware of them and then fix them. I think that's a really, really big one. And that also should come from the organization, just to invite trainings and workshops and discussions around that, and just, deep listening circles with women, and just men also listening to women and their experiences. Of course, not to mention the equal pay, which we're still far behind. I'm talking even in the UK and many countries in Europe. All countries have a pay gap. Some have more, some have less, and UK is quite bad, as I've read recently. But that's somehow, for me, that's the default. Of course, let's pay women as much as we pay men for the same job, having the same experience. Um, but apparently, for many organizations, that is not on their priority list. I think it's because they it will cost so much that they will just not be. They just can't right now, which is crazy. But yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It's not profitable
not
for
profitable.
them, or that's how they see it, which is wrong because your profits as a company come from your people,
Yeah.
you know?
And also, if, yeah, once you hired women, now probably you've done your budget, so on, and bringing that equal pay from then on, it will change the whole budgeting that you've done, right? And probably companies just can't afford that, but that's still not right. That's still not
It's
right.
still, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. That was a great segue into our next topic. What is unconscious bias and how do we overcome it?
So unconscious bias, for me, of course. So everything that we do that is in prejudice for other people or against other people, And that could be everything around gender, sex, religion, cultural background, being an immigrant or not. So it could be everything. It could be everything. And it's something that we're not aware of. It's something that we're not doing it on purpose, but it's something that is ingrained in our brains because of how we were raised, because of our societies. And the society, in its core, it has this unconscious biases. It depends where you live. You might be prejudiced against women, you might be prejudiced against people of color, and about people of different religion than yours. Um, it's something that your parents had. That idea was put in you without you choosing to. And even if you start educating yourself, it 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 will still be there. So it's an ongoing work that we need to do, and probably don't know if we can ever get rid of. But I think we just need to always be aware of that and always keep ourselves in check to where we are in some situations, and make sure that our actions are not based on unconscious bias, but are actually against those. Just always be aware of how we're talking and how we interact with people, how our actions are. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a perfect example of this. I don't think it's a secret that I like Disney. And when my niece was 8, we um, ate at a restaurant called Chef Mickey's. Minnie is a waitress. And my niece, I was like, why isn't Minnie a chef? My niece said, women can't be chefs. She was 8. She was 8. This wasn't that long ago. Well, no, I think she's like 20 now. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a while ago, but still, like
Yeah.
in the early 2000s,
Yeah.
she got this idea in her head. And I remember my sister being like, where did you hear that?
Yeah.
And she's just like, I don't know. That's unconscious
Yeah.
bias. That's
Yeah.
what it does to us
Yeah.
as women. She was 8.
And
Oh my God.
also women versus other women. It doesn't need to be just like
Yes,
men, over women, and white people over people of color. It could be of your own gender, your own skin color, your own cultural, religion. And yeah, we have them for sure.
exactly. Yeah. And it's just, as like, it's so ingrained into everything, the misogyny, the patriarchy, all of that stuff, how the world is built on a system by men for men, you know? Um, anyway, that could be a whole episode.
Don't get me started. Yeah.
So yeah, I will. I'll have to have you back for that at some point. the the system, yeah. Uh, Speaking of men, why is it important to have male allies?
Oh, the first thing that came to my mind is, and it's so sad, but it's so true, is like the society still, in some situation, listen to men more than they listen to women, and there's still so much evidence on that. That was the thing that just came, just like came for me, um, because it's the right thing to do as well, because it is. um, Fighting for justice and for equity and for equality and equity, let's leave it there, is not just a women's problem. Sexism is not just a women's problem. Patriarchy is not just a women's problem. Men are
Hmm.
affected by patriarchy as well in different ways, but as well. So just it makes it right. We just do the right thing if we just like stand up for in solidarity and support other groups. It's just the right thing to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wink, wink.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it's just that if I complain about something, then nobody cares until a man agrees with me. And then sometimes they still don't care, and I have to get a lawyer anyway.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just, I mean, the length that men will go to protect male fragility is beyond me. They
Yeah.
can look at a situation, see the same thing that you see, but not internalize it the
Yeah.
same way
Yeah.
because women are always wrong and
And not
we're too
only,
emotional.
exactly, there are so many other stereotypes that it just doesn't make sense. And now the science backs that up. It's just not proven. It's just not right. It's just, yeah. But still, to get that science out to people, it will take a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And it takes a lot of, talking about these issues and really illuminating how these affect us, affect women, men, as you said. Men are expected to be the breadwinner and like macho and manly, Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um,
And also, one of the things that patriarchy really affects them in terms of how they show emotions. We are emotional beings, but only for the half of the population, which are women. Men don't really, still many of them, not all, they don't learn how to express feelings. They think that that's a sign of weakness. And then they end up like
exactly.
eating themselves. And it is also, again, other statistic that men do when they try to when they attempt to to suicide, to kill themselves, they actually succeed in higher rates than women, but
That's true.
they also do it in higher numbers. So yeah, yeah, and that's for that. I'm pretty sure that's related to how we express emotions and how we are allowed to express emotion with quotes. um
Exactly.
yeah.
You do not you do not need permission to express emotion, you know? Like whatever
Yeah.
you feel is valid, your feelings are always valid. It's how you present them and then how others react and then how you react to them and internalize a lot of stuff.
Absolutely. But even in groups of men, if someone, and I've witnessed that, and I still witness that in, the lads group when I see like men going out. First of all, they don't really talk about, or like deeper stuff. It's very
Hmm.
shallow. But also if someone like dares to like be a little bit sentimental or emotional, they will make fun of this guy, the rest of the group. So that
Yeah,
immediately is this discouragement of yeah, just expressing emotions. Again, this is not the case for all men in all situations, but still I see it too often. Too often.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. So, what change would you like to see happen in tech, especially in terms of equity, inclusion? Um, yeah.
Yeah, so let's start from, because we start from today, right? Is like already the women that we want to attract in the field are grown up and they've been already through the system again. But as I said, if we can just raise our daughters, you know equally with how we raise our boys and give them equal opportunities, right? But in terms of if we start from now, I guess, yeah, so much mentoring, like having other women, is like if you have, some women in your company, use them to mentor other women, to like set an example that that is possible as well. And it's proven that if you see yourself represented in spaces, then you're more likely to join those spaces as well, right? Again, uh, equal pay gap, offering women opportunities even in businesses. Like I have seen also same experiences, a man and a woman, and in case of a promotion or a super interesting project, the opportunity was given to the man. ah, Again, just try to be considerate of that. Unconscious bias, a lot of trainings, and all of us educating on that, especially men, because this is a problem of specifically women in tech. Start programs like go in schools early on. Now let's form some teams, go in school, talk about how, yeah, women like us, we just go and talk about our experience and how we ended up here, and also the struggles that we've faced, but also that we're here and it's actually great and we can do it and it's amazing. um that's another thing we can do. Yeah, um, other programs in schools. I think, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I never expected this podcast to get the attention that it does, but people are just like, nobody talks about these things. And I'm like, there are a whole bunch of podcasts for women in tech where they talk about these things. Why are people not finding them?
Yeah.
You know, but it's really important just to raise awareness, because then our male allies will see, you know, what this is doing to us, how we're treated, and how men really unconsciously don't care about our
Mm,
feelings. Whenever we
yeah.
have a problem, they just want us to go away,
And
you
you
know?
know what? I think it's also it's a culture of it's a work culture as well. It's not just men. We do not allow um, all of us in our workspace. We need to be productive, especially between like 9 and 5 when we have client meetings. As women on our periods, we're not allowed to like maybe they some organization do understand that and they give like maybe sick leave, but still like if you have a little bit of a lower day, it's still not understandable that you might have just you feel a little bit miserable today, and hence your productivity is a little bit lower, and that is fine because we're humans. We have
Yeah.
different cycles, and men have more cycles than women, by the way, during a day. So
Men have
men
cycles
have a
for
lot of
sure.
cycles. It's incredible how
Yeah,
quickly a men's cycle can change from an hour to an hour, from 1 hour to another hour. So I think it's a work
yeah,
culture. We just need to always be smiley, capable, like um, rested, and be fully present, regardless of what's happening in our um, personal lives. But yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I love that you brought up periods. This is such a, you know, like visceral issue. And I will never forget, I will say, I taught at a like very frou-frou privatized health company. In their bathroom, I shit you not, they had a wicker basket with name brand tampons and pads, like all, you know, like spread out in this nice, like, yeah, that that's the only time I've ever seen that. There should not be a machine that you have to pay for that stuff, because if you've ever been a woman at the office who gets her period without expecting it, you don't have, you know, tampons or anything, and you have to go around to women in the office and ask if they have any. No, absolutely not. Every office should have a wicker basket with name brand
I
stuff.
100%, 150, 1,000% agree with this. And I should think they
Yeah.
should be free everywhere, even in I think the government should
Hmm.
give them for free. Is girls and women should
Totally.
not pay for them.
Yeah, speaking of that, so here in the States, we're having like um sorry, my stutter is gonna come out on this one. There's nothing to do. Supply chain issues. The two top things that we're missing are tampons and formula for babies,
Yeah.
both impacting women in a friggin' horrible way. And I wonder why those two things are what we're short of. Why aren't we short of like Viagra?
And for
Hmm?
sure not short on guns. Sorry to bring it up, but yeah, actually,
No,
yeah. So
totally.
how come is like formula and yeah, exactly like women's pads? It's like it's what world are we living in? Yeah, I've heard that because my sister
I
lives in
know.
the US and she's giving birth in like a month maximum from now, and she's worried. She's
Oh,
worried
cool.
about this because she doesn't know if she can breastfeed. And but yeah, how come
Yeah.
that's a thing?
It's hard to breastfeed. Not
Yeah.
everyone can.
Absolutely.
actually.
So she's
Yeah.
worried, and
So,
she's also worried, it's like, what if I can't get formula? And she was saying, you're going to come visit and you're going to bring a lot of formula from the UK. I said, sure. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. There are women who sell their breast milk now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes me so
Yeah.
sad. Like that that should not be a thing. It just
No.
shouldn't. It's like you said, it's a crazy world we're living in. What's going
And
on
it's
anymore?
another element that is put on women with children. Not only that, in many states maybe they don't have paid leave or it's very short.
Hmm.
Not maybe not all women have insurance to give birth, and it's quite costly. And now another thing is like a crisis of formula.
Hmm.
So I really feel for those women. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, same. Um, on that note, I wish I could end on like a happier note. It's going to be okay, ladies. We're going to get through this
Yeah. Yeah.
together. Yeah. Um but yeah, unfortunately we are at the end of our time. I can like never believe that it's the end of the time. I could listen to you talk all day long.
Likewise, I love this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of important stuff. So, before I let you go, can you tell people where to connect with you and any presentations or anything
Oh,
that you have upcoming?
so yes, future presentation. Actually, it's just the symposium, Sitecore Symposium, which, well, it's not. We don't know yet if we have our talks accepted or not. Other than that, not really. No other presentation. I'm on LinkedIn. I don't even know my name on LinkedIn.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'll
I'm
put the
on many
links.
social
Yeah.
medias, but I use them for just to find out events, and yeah, I don't really post that much. But yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Well, just in case, I'll have links to all your stuff in the description. And yeah, thank you so much
Thank you.
for coming on as a
Thank
guest.
you. This was amazing. Thank you. Much appreciated for
Wonderful.
having me.
Yes, absolutely. If you want to support us, please like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow gems. Let me know in the comments what other topics you would like me to cover, and follow Tiaras and Tech on social media and use the hashtag MakeYourselfShine. Thanks for watching or listening, and have a great day.